Hola, mis amigos. This is a different type of episode of the movie reference. I don't know if this is like a special report type episode, like
I just need a mic. Reporting live.
reporting live. We have our DC correspondent. It's ladies and
It's a
gentlemen.
fire, Mark Anthony. It's all going to.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here, Mark, and as you notice, Brittany's not here unless she grew a beard and shaved her head. It's Alex Smith.
Okay, we can hold the applause for the shaved head. Come
No,
on.
no, no, no.
My barber was like, "Is everything okay?" And I was like, "I'm going through something."
This is Alex, and if you don't know that golden voice, because I'm sure you haven't seen his face, but he has been on the show twice. Came on, did the who and what. We talked about Man of Steel, and
Yep.
then he came on the movie reference to talk about the Batman. So you are our residential DC dude.
Actually, yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I think DC is
Issue
stupid.
134 said of DC. That's me. I'm that dude. I never thought I'd be that dude, but that's who I am on your show, I guess.
That's
But yeah,
it. If
that's
we
all
if we
true.
need to talk to you about Marvel, I don't think you know anything. So I'm convinced.
I know some things. It's not just DC. I'll just
I
go.
know a lot about a little bit.
I'm okay. I know other things. We talk just to talk too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If we wanted you for that, we would have asked you on a long time ago. No, I'm just kidding. No. So I don't know. This idea hit me. I was like, I want to talk about DC, all things DC, what's going on with what we know. Okay, we're gonna know more in the new year apparently,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to kind of break it down, and specifically thought of you because of everything that's around Superman and Henry Cavill, and yeah, and Bernie said, no thanks.
Like it's
I
Christmas.
understand.
I'm on vacation.
It would be amazing to hear her commentary, but she doesn't care about this kind of stuff. So she she really don't care about this.
I don't care.
Yeah, she loves Henry Cavill, but she loves the man and not what he represents, I guess, which is
I get
Superman.
it. He's a handsome guy. I don't even know why I care. I'm nearly 30.
So if you found us, we're on YouTube, obviously. Thank you. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think about what's going on with DC. And then also you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor, and follow us on Instagram at the movie reference if you choose so. That's the choice is up to you, just like it is with James Gunn and Peter Safran. Let's get into this, man.
They have all the power. I remember first hearing that news and being like so excited. I am super excited
Yeah.
still.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
But I don't know. Well, I think I knew going into it there's going to be some house cleaning,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but I just thought first and foremost Henry Cavill would be safe, especially after that whole Black Adam announcement. And I was like, that's it. It's like all the outlets, like everyone that we watched, they're just like, yeah, that's it. It's confirmed. It's like leading
Mhm.
on to bigger things. He's Superman still. And then like 2 months later, 3 months later, it's like, yeah, I'm fired. It's it.
Yeah, there was a sense of The Rock was really pushing for it, right? Dwayne with Black Adam,
Yeah.
really pushing for Henry to make a cameo because he wants to fight. Obviously, ultimately, wants to fight Superman in
For
one of these Black
some
Adam movies.
reason, you really want Black Adam
Yeah.
in
What about
Superman.
Batman? He's gonna take you out. No, I'm just kidding.
What about Shazam, bro? What about that guy?
Oh, that's true, and yeah, it's fascinating. Like he was up in it. It felt like he was doing his own campaign, like his own release the Snyder cut with
It felt like he was like pushing to run DC Studios. He was like,
oh
I
yeah.
did this. I brought Superman back.
There's a change of hierarchy in the DC universe. Yeah, whatever. It's over, man. It's done.
Over the
Black
rack.
Adam didn't do very well, and it kind of feels like this big. He was promoting the movie. At the end of the day, that's all he was doing was trying to up it as much as he can and be like, "Go see this movie,"
Yeah.
and it just didn't pay off.
And that's okay. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Hey, up until this point, this DC extended universe, whatever you want to call it, the DCEU, just has been a mixed bag, if I could
Yeah.
say. It's just been a mixed bag of darkness and them trying to find their own path, their own way to connect all these movies, and it's just kind of been, eh, like,
No, it's right. It's kind of been some. There are some high points, and then but there's more low points than there are high points, and it feels like a
unfortunately,
lot of the high points, like the Joker or the Batman, like don't really matter in that continuity. So you're just like, this is cool.
well, and I think it's proven to DC with the success of Joker and the success of the Batman, like just do standalone things. Like you
Mhm.
don't have to make it all connect. Because it proved. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor. Like,
100%. I think like if you focus on just making good movies with if you don't have a 10-year plan, that's fine. But
yeah,
at least focus on just making good standalone movies and then just work that 10-year plan on the back burner and then have your own separate like there's room on the table for all of it. And I don't understand why they felt like they just had to rush it. Like it really
yeah,
just felt like they were just racing behind Marvel. And they knew it. They knew it was a losing strategy, but they just wanted to get on that bandwagon.
yeah,
I'm I'm inferring a lot, but yeah.
yeah. It totally felt like that. I mean, in terms of when Man of Steel came out, 2013, Marvel was already in its phase two with Iron Man 3 and Thor: Dark World. So they already did their big team up movie and everything. So now they're like, was it 2016? When Batman vs Superman came out.
Yeah, it was 2016. I
So
remember. I
at
remember
that
being
at
super
that point,
disappointed.
Captain America: Civil War's coming out. Like we're already having the Avengers fight each other, or at least argument, a big argument with each other. So like, yeah, it felt like a huge amount of catch up, and Snyder's world felt like it was trying to be really deep, especially Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Like it was going down an intellectual path, and just didn't quite hit the mark, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah. I don't think it did either. I mean, like I appreciate the effort because I think those tones work in
Yeah.
in the DC universe, and I think it lends itself more towards DC than it does Marvel. So I think he was on. I'm not saying like don't go that direction. I just felt like yeah, I don't think he understood where it was ultimately going because it felt really cynical for
Mm.
a character that's supposed to be, uplifting. Like it just felt like every projection, especially, and I'm going specifically to Superman, like every future reference that you get of Superman's like, oh, he's evil. He's going to
Yeah.
kill everyone. It's like, but we don't make him smile, please. So,
Do we? What is it? What's the question? Do we need a Superman or whatever? Like,
need a Superman? I don't know.
yeah. I felt the tone was perfect if it was Batman centric, and so like that's why with Batman v Superman, all the Batman stuff
It was
is
awesome.
it's incredible. The
Yeah.
Superman though, he's depressed and down, and it was just like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be like a juxtaposition type of thing, like.
No, like you got a banging girl. You can fly.
And
Yeah.
that's what I loved about Man of Steel was like when he flew for the first time, no matter how dark the color palette was, you felt it. You were like, yeah,
He was smiling. He was happy.
yeah, he's flying around the world. Like visually stunning that movie.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get into the Man of Steel and we geek out about that again and we talk about it for 2 hours like we did before, um, prior to 2013, you know, DC kind of in a way kind of ran the gauntlet. Um, so what's your experience prior to that? Like with films, comics, or television?
For I mean, prior to that, like, are you talking strictly just DC?
Yes, strictly DC.
I my experience because I was a really big DC guy. Like even prior to that, I think like, and I still think even in comic in the medium that they're both really competing against each other. That
Hmm.
DC's superior. Um, just on their storytelling, I think like their history is just better entrenched there, and it lends itself to more topical subject matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, and it's just comics, so it's like nothing too deep, but like you can get deep with those characters. Like, even with like characters like Green Arrow, if you want to get political, like he's a perfect archetype for like political commentary. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
basically just a whole rip off of Robin Hood, but like just in a modern setting. And I don't know, just really my experience has been really, I develop a lot of like conceptual understanding of the world around me, and like just as a source of entertainment, I think like it was just my poison of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think after, as much as I love Man of Steel, I think afterwards, and especially after the Dark Knight movies, everyone just saw DC as darker, and it's not necessarily darker.
Right.
Um, when I was growing up, Marvel was kind of the darker of the two, because it was like you had figures like the Punisher, Venom, or Carnage, and stuff like that that
Mm-hmm.
were just like mass murderers. And like Marvel was supposed to be this more realistic interpretation of like superheroes existing in the real world. Like they had a real life, like, I don't know. It
The
was like
street
all these
level.
science experiments, yeah. And but it's not the case anymore. Like Marvel's kind of more uplifting and funny and almost comical times. And I think that's what people think of. And DC's just like beating guys into the dirt and screaming "I'm vengeance," which is badass, but that works for that character. Like you can't do that for a Superman or a Wonder Woman or a Cyborg. I'm sorry, Cyborg in Justice League is just too
Yeah,
depressed.
yeah,
So, but that's been my experience so far.
yeah. I mean, I I think sometimes I'm so into the movies and stuff. Like sometimes I have to dig back into the crates of, and that's metaphorically. Like I got to go into YouTube territory to be like, oh, I don't know this character. Let me find out. Like I follow was it Variant Comics. That guy does a really great
Yeah.
breakdown of any character that I'm interested in, whether it's Marvel or DC. So I feel like a lot of times with DC, I'm playing catch up because obviously Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, they're the biggest characters in the world. You don't have to do much studying on those characters, but I
Yeah.
feel like they have a lot more deep cut characters than with Marvel. Like I feel like I knew a lot more about Marvel's universe and whatnot. But my experience with DC prior to 2013, I mean, obviously was very Batman centric.
Hmm.
Batman's my favorite character, right? He's my favorite comic book character of all time. And I know it doesn't look like it back here, but he really is. And it all started with the Batman animated series. Like that was the thing that I would come home to because so I knew Kevin Conroy's voice. He was the voice of Batman. Rest in peace.
Rest.
And he's excellent. And I remember that was one of the first times I associated the score with the series. The classic Danny Elfman score, and it was just one of those things that I just really enjoyed as a kid. And then of course I was born in 1989, so one of the first Batman films I got to see was Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yeah. Of
You
course.
know, and so that's what I grew up on. And then of course eventually it was the Superman. I think Superman had an animated series as well,
Yeah.
and it was awesome. I love that chin that they gave him in the
Yeah.
series. And then of course I got to see Christopher Reeves, but that's kind of where it stayed. Like Batman kept going with me, but Superman, like Christopher Reeves, I was like when I was a kid, I watched it, but I haven't seen it since. Like I
Yeah.
don't even, so I don't have a really good frame of reference as far as that's concerned. And then even like I remember watching Lois and Clark, but I couldn't tell you what happened in an episode. Like, and I never watched Smallville, so like all these little things, like I felt like even with like if we threw Marvel into the mix, like I loved watching like Spider-Man and X-Men more than anything else except for of course Batman. Like Batman was my series and I even watched Batman Beyond. Like
Batman Beyond. They need
hell
to
yeah.
make a movie of that. That's a
Hell
great.
yeah. And then yeah, no, did you yeah, we'll get into that later. But like and then after that it was the Dark Knight trilogy. Before Man of Steel. The Dark Knight trilogy was one of those holy shit. The it's stand the test of time for me. Like it's still my favorite trilogy. It's still my favorite version of Batman. Um, and yeah, that's been my experience prior to to Man of Steel.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in a lot of ways. Like I can see where you're coming from in that perspective, and that's like the lens you're looking through them left. So
Well, and that complicates things though, because obviously the big push has always been Batman. He's
yeah,
been the forefront, even though Superman feels like Superman's the leader.
Batman is easier to push out than Superman, but Superman needs like you build the universe around Superman, like that's your bread and butter. Like and Batman and Wonder Woman are really important, strong structures in that fundament, like that foundation. But it's Superman, like he's supposed to be like he's their Jon Snow, like he's supposed to
Yeah,
inspire them to even make a Justice League. Like
he's
Batman's not a leader. Batman's
he's
a
the
little.
moral compass. Superman's the moral compass.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I felt like I did watch Smallville, and Smallville was my show
Mhm.
growing up. But even then, like throughout, it was it was cheesy, but I dug it.
Yeah,
Superman's cheesy; it can work. Um, but I agree with you. I felt like after Superman 2, like the Dick Donner version, Superman just kind of fell off like from mainstream audience, and I think like the audience appetite wanted more optimism. Maybe studios felt like it maybe wasn't what the audiences wanted, but I feel like we kind of need that interpretation now more than ever.
oh yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I think that's what Marvel kind of capitalized on was we can make these connect, we can make them brighter. They have and they have all the pillars that you need to like kind of unify the universe, and you have
Yeah.
all these different characters. I mean, phases 1 through 3. I mean, come on, they're untouchable, untouchable. Like, I mean, yeah, there's a couple movies in there that are like,
But I agree.
yeah,
You can't beat him.
yeah, and it was, bring back Robert Downey, man, and Steve Evans. Wow, Chris Evans. Um,
So in
wow.
depth.
See, Chris Evans has become Steve Rogers so much that he is Steve Evans from
It's
now
one
on.
person. He never came back. Chris Evans died in 2011.
So is it pretty fair to say that who's your favorite DC character?
It would be Superman,
Yeah,
100%. Like
100%.
that's my guy.
Damn. Okay. Is there a version of him that you like more than most? Comics or film?
I that's actually a really really good question. I think the version that I grew up with was Tom Welling' Smallville
Oh
Superman,
yeah. Okay.
just because he was an adolescent version. Like um I mean, as unrealistic as it was to have a 30-year-old play a 15-year-old in a network TV show, like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
did a great job. I but I think I think he would be my Superman. I know a lot of people love that, but I base a lot of his ideologies like he has or in his power set just from that show alone, and he just did a good job of just being like this nerd, like
Yeah.
you have to do the right thing all the time. So that's my Superman. I know a lot of people. As much as I love Henry Cavill Superman, I feel like Henry Cavill wanted to be that optimistic
Mhm.
um, do-gooder as well. I don't think he ever got the opportunity to. Like that was always like it always felt like that was the next discussion that he was gonna do in the next movie,
Yeah.
and they just never quite got there.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like they was like, let's lead with the darkness, and then we'll get to the optimism.
Then we'll find the light, but they never
Yeah.
found it. They never found the light.
Nah. Yeah. So prior to, or basically, my first experience with Man of Steel was the teaser they put in front of The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah,
That was the first time I even knew it was coming out. It's like one of the last times I ever was not aware of a movie being made. And I remember Dark Knight Rises, going to see it. This trailer comes on. It's very moody. There's a
yeah,
Superman in water, or Clark's in the water. You're like, what the hell's going on? You got the piano,
yeah.
you getting the score coming in, and it just looked obviously the biggest thing on there was executive producer, Christopher
Bruce
Nolan and
Miller.
Zack Snyder. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden, it's Man of Steel. Wow. You know what I mean? Like but it felt like it was gonna be in the same tone as the Dark Knight trilogy.
It did.
Basically, is what the teaser did. It was like, wow,
And I remember that's what I wanted at the
yeah,
time too. Like I was super excited for that movie. I followed that movie like ever since like like first casting choices, like before like any teasers, anything were released. And like I remember seeing the first still of like of Henry Cavill, like whenever Fedora pushes him through the bank.
yeah.
I loved that movie. I remember like after first seeing it, like okay, I felt like we had a really good first step in the door, and
Absolutely.
I rem- I was super excited. I thought it was like the best Superman movie we could have asked for the time. But then I heard other people's thoughts, and other people just didn't quite love it as me. So I was like, "Am I wrong? Am I the Neanderthal?" And I guess people, mainstream audiences, as much as I loved it, it doesn't matter because a lot of people just thought it was okay, and
Yeah,
I think that was underwhelming because I felt like, oh, even if this was made for me, maybe Superman is kind of like you can't do them. Maybe people aren't just not going to get on board regardless. So I remember feeling, I don't know, instead of and not to like, oh, everything sucks, but I remember feeling hopeful for seeing
yeah,
a favorite character of mine get more screen time, and then feeling hopeless. So I was like, okay, they still don't care, which
yeah. I first reaction when I walked out of the theater was like, I immediately got to watch this again.
mhm.
Like, and I think I saw that one in IMAX 3D, if I'm not mistaken. So that whole like Krypton scene was bananas. Oh my gosh. And everything about listen, if you want to hear us geek out about Man of Steel in depth, go back and listen to our episode. It's labeled the Who and What Movie Podcast because that's what this started out as. But we talk about it 2 hours
Yeah,
almost.
a lot. It's mainly just me talking and you going, okay, all
But
right.
this movie, Man of Steel, was one of those movies that I saw it twice in theaters and I just was blown away by it. I was like, wow, this is the first time I ever really liked Superman. Like I like the animated series, of course, but like this was the first time I ever was like, "Oh shit, I would watch a second one right away." Like
Yeah,
sign me up. And I felt like there was enough Easter eggs in there too. You know, you had the Wayne Enterprises satellite and the LexCorp gas truck, I guess, or
and
whatever. And sure, there was a lot of explosions, and they made a choice with the character at the very end that is so freaking controversial, which I think was justified, man. Whatever, we don't need to get into it.
I if they can have Batman just fucking slaughter an entire room with his bare hands, like and like just blow up a guy's gas tank and not bat an eye, like I think okay.
Exactly. It just the whole story just made sense for Clark's journey. And anyways, I was blown away by it. At the end of the day, I couldn't wait. What is this leading to? Obviously, after that, I became really dedicated to following movies and when they're being made, and that's when you find out that they're doing Batman v Superman.
Yeah,
Well, at the time, it was Batman versus Superman, right? It wasn't like a lawyer thing going on.
it wasn't a court case
Yeah,
yet.
they even had what's his face come on at Comic Con, who plays the General Lennox,
Martian Manhunter now.
Marshall Manhunter. He comes out and he does the delivery of what
Did the
Batman
Frank
says.
Miller Dark Knight Returns speech,
Exactly, and it's a
Yeah.
perfect speech.
Great speech, and it's a great voice to do it in too. But it just felt like after Man of Steel came out, like the priority was we have to race behind Marvel
Yeah.
like, as soon as possible. Like they already, instead of just, and I think everyone can agree that they should have done a Man of Steel sequel.
Oh
And
yeah.
when I heard they were going to put Batman in there, like a little part of me was like, but I really want to see Superman and Batman just interact together. Like I
Yeah.
wanted it to speed up too. I wanted us to get to that point,
Yeah.
but I I think like just that excitement of just having two of those strong literary characters just like actually meet up because that's never happened before, like
Yeah.
in a live action movie. So it just
The,
felt
yeah.
really rushed.
They should. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but they should have built the tension. Like, I mean, yeah, totally justifiable of how they started Batman v Superman to make Batman on his pursuit of justice,
Yeah.
but there should have been more interactions. There should have been a build up to it to the point where Batman will like Bruce would like voice his concern of distrust with
Mm.
Cal, but build to the finally I'm gonna murder you
Yeah.
now. you
Yeah.
know?
He really went to murder like pretty quickly for someone that and maybe it's because he's a different Batman, but and I don't mean to harp on the movie too much, but also
Of
like
course.
that Batman didn't feel like he didn't feel I know he's smart, but he didn't feel smart, if that makes sense. He didn't feel like that leads like greatest detective. Like I don't buy that Lex tricked him. I don't buy that
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
have
yeah,
dug
yeah.
deeper.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely all those like those little logic leaps felt very disconnected.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought Ben Affleck was
I
awesome
thought he was
as
great. I thought he
Bruce
was
Wayne
great.
and Bat. But specifically in that movie, because that's basically the next question anyway, is the movies that followed Man of Steel, but Justice League, they try to do something different with him,
Yeah,
and
that whole
it didn't
situation.
work.
They tried to make him Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
That's all. And they tried to make Ezra Miller Tom Holland.
Ugh,
That was it.
don't get me started. Don't get me started. But
Yo,
like,
you don't want to talk about Ezra Miller? Is this video gonna get demonetized?
no, 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 no. As we don't make any money off of this, you're doing this for free. Um, Ezra Miller, despite what's happening in the last year and a half or whatever,
This
I've
five state of Hawaii.
never liked him as the Flash.
Me either.
I as soon as he was cast, I was like, we'll see, because I don't want to jump to the conclusions, right? Like when Robert Pattinson was cast as Batman, I was like, just give him a chance. So with the Flash, I gave him a chance, but I was like, nah,
They gave him too many
there's
chances.
too many chances. For sure. Yeah, and uh, see, yeah, and Batman v Superman. The reason why we keep coming back to this is because they thought we're gonna stuff this movie, and
Yeah,
we're gonna have Lex discover all these other meta humans. You know, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, The Flash,
yeah.
Cyborg, and it was just a very weird way to.
It was just overfluffed. Like I
Yeah,
don't think we're saying anything that anyone else hasn't said before. Like
yeah,
just like 2/3 of it is like a is Batman v Superman, and like then it's Death of Superman, then it's also a Frank Miller Batman Returns comic, and then
yeah.
it's a Justice League movie, but not really.
It's four movies wrapped in one that should have been separated.
You could have spaced that out. You
Could
could have
have
made that.
totally spaced it out, and then it
And,
would have been a nice little button to be like, okay, here's the fourth film. Doomsday's here. After all the distrust that Bruce has towards Cal, Cal sacrifices himself.
and that's your Justice League movie. There you
Boom,
go. Boom.
boom. But whatever. Moving past that, after that with the DCEU, they had freaking. I might miss some, but Suicide Squad, right? The one with Will
I forgot
Smith,
about that movie.
Wonder Woman, Aquaman,
Shazam.
Shazam. They redid the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
James Gunn coming in to direct that one,
And then
and
the Justice League. And then the Zack
oh yeah,
Snyder.
Justice League. Of course, they had the Justice League. See, it's so bad I forgot all about it. No, and then they
The
did Zack
Justice
Snyder's
League.
Justice League. Did I miss anything? Let me see. Oh,
If
Birds of Prey.
oh yeah, I totally forgot about Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
I
I
totally
mean
forgot.
it
They didn't have to be at
in
all.
terms of the overall, like I loved Man of Steel, the Suicide Squad, and even the series Peacemaker, right? I
Yeah.
guess that still counts, right? And then I liked the extended version of Batman v Superman, and I liked Wonder Woman, and then everything else was just eh.
I mean I
To
like
me.
Zack Snyder's Justice League quite a bit.
Oh, I guess I forget to put that in there just because of how it happened. Like the theatrical version of Justice League is terrible. Zack Snyder's I did
Terrible.
like. I liked the way it was. I mean, yeah, it was 4 hours long, but it was more fleshed out.
Washington breaks.
Yeah, yeah, it even had little chapters, but like you got so much more enjoyment out of it because there was a lot more payoff, especially when you watch the extended version of Batman v Superman
Yeah, it's
and
a lot more
compare it
fleshed out.
to the theatrical version. You're like, damn, I mean, granted, Justice League is another one of those where it's like this could have been 3 movies easily.
Yeah, I think so.
So
I think because they're dealing with such large concepts that like they don't ever give them the right amount of time to
yeah,
breathe. Whenever it's like I don't know, like a like whenever it's a Justice League issue, like that's a perfect amount to like stretch out your movies, like because they do have good movies. Like
mhm,
Wonder Woman was a good movie.
yeah,
Yeah, the Suicide Squad was great. I love the Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad.
yeah. I know. All you got to do is remember the article, like the or no the.
But yeah, I just felt like I don't know, like or Shazam. I felt like whenever they focused on doing just a good movie, like they killed it. I would argue that they were better than most Marvel movies like that they were competing against at that time. But whenever it just felt like I don't know, like a race to the finish line, that's where I felt like they dropped the ball. And unfortunately, DC has a lot more drop balls than they do goals. I think.
Yeah, I they they did the Star Wars approach.
Yeah,
They just
they did.
said, "Give us what you got," and then panicked when Zack Snyder. You watch Campia, I watch Campia. It's no secret, but Campia said Batman Superman should have easily made a
A billion.
billion dollars, right? And he's right, but because of what it was, it just it didn't reach its potential. And you look at Star Wars, The Force Awakens blew everyone's socks off, but that's because it was more of a rehash of the original trilogy. And then Last Jedi did really well, but it disappointed a lot of people. You know what I mean? So, but they didn't have their story mapped out either. So they were like, "Hey, let's try these directors and see what they come up with."
Yeah, and they're just pumping a movie out every year,
Exactly, and
kind
that's
of.
what happened with DCEU. They entrusted to Zach first, and then they're like, "Uh oh, this is not the way we wanted
This
it."
is a bad idea. We don't like this.
Yeah, and he's asking for a lot of money.
He's asking for a lot, and something about Batman beating people up in prisons.
And at the time, I mean, Marvel has a leading captain. Now he has a lot on his plate, but first 3 phases, they had a leading captain. They have 2 other producers, and there was a
Yeah,
very much of a yeah, we're having different directors take their takes, but there's a through line. There's a story that they want to be told,
they have
and
to
it has
hit
to lead.
these
Exactly,
plot points.
exactly, and so that's why I felt like the DC was just missing. They were just trying to well, they just want to see the characters. No, you need to make a story to make those characters, you know, come alive. Like there has to be something there, a through line to make sure that they all come, other than Bruce's paranoia of a vision that he had, which
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I hate that it just went straight to dark side too. I feel like with
Yeah,
a Justice League threat, like that's the end all be all. I think
yeah. I agree.
I and it just felt like they're just trying to compete with Thanos and Thanos and I mean it took the Avengers technically like 3 movies in their own all had 3 different trilogies as well to get to Thanos, so it felt earned,
Yeah,
and this didn't. And I I don't know. It just felt like whenever I do think back to the DC universe prior to, I just feel disappointed because there is a lot of potential there.
yeah,
And you had a lot of actors, in particularly that would give their whole selves to that work their ass off, like a Henry Cavill.
yeah.
And so it's just disappointing to know that you had all the resources and tools and people that are passionate about the projects in general, and they just kind of fucking wasted it. I'm sorry, but that's upsetting.
Well, and I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding. I mean, take Ben Affleck for example. He's a huge Batman fan.
Yeah,
he came in, yeah, I'll play. Obviously he was trepidatious and everybody complained about it, but he proved everyone wrong. But you
Yeah.
could see how, whoa, is that you?
Is that me?
Something beeped. Um, but yeah, you could see how the universe weighed on him because by the time we got to Justice League, you could tell he was like, I'm done already. Like they sucked the joy
Yeah.
out of him.
And they did. Like that's where all the sad Affleck memes were coming out of too. Like because, but he also had his own demons going on
Yeah,
too.
of course,
Like,
of course.
but yeah, they really did kind of take the fun out of something that is supposed to be recreational, and they just kind of made it. I don't know, a
Yeah.
lack of better words, a shit show.
And and I mean to piggyback off what you said earlier about Thanos, like how it felt earned. Well, that was the thing. Marvel, I mean, Captain America said it himself in that post credit scene. Patience.
Hmm.
Everything that they did in the first three phases was all about patience. They teased it all. You may have gotten tired of the stone storyline with, everyone finding a stone and,
Yeah,
here's a cameo from Thanos at the end, but they made you wait.
yeah,
They said, we're not ready yet. We need to set up these characters and we need to tell you why they're all connected.
yeah.
So then when he shows up, you're like,
And he shows up and he's like nothing to be played with. Like he is literally, he's not even a person. He's like a force of nature. Like they
and the
can't.
first thing he does is beat up Hulk.
Yeah, their strongest Avenger. They've been
Strongest Avenger.
not recognized.
So okay, so now everyone has like an idea of where we are with the whole DC as a whole up until this point. Obviously, we have a love for Henry Cavill. Like
Yeah,
he's just a cool. He's a good looking dude who happens to be a nerd.
he's charismatic.
Yeah,
He carries himself well.
yeah,
It's not that he's just good looking. Like every interview, he's always like charming. He's always professional.
yeah.
Because if I was him right now, I would be like,
Mother. Uh,
"Why do you say I was back and then you call me back?" The emotional toll, man, man.
I so his announcement. Obviously, you were the first person I texted
Yeah.
immediately,
I think
bro.
we texted each other like
Yeah,
within the same. Yeah.
whoa, and you saw it in his face how happy and excited he was
Hmm.
to make that announcement. So then you can kind of tell, and it's justifiable, why he would respond like write a blog instead of actually doing a video because you could probably
He's
tell he was probably hurt.
he's really bummed. I bet he was really bummed. And
Yeah,
it could have been like right after that meeting, or I don't know what, but yeah, the fact that it was text instead of a video like shows a lot. He was just like, I can't.
yeah, and it's justifiable, and like, but I did like how he worded it. Right? If you guys haven't seen the post, let me see if I can pull it up here.
Yeah. Well, share
Uh,
that maybe.
let's see here. This is his post, right? And this is like pretty much a month after he announced that he was coming back, right? I'm coming
Mhm.
back and I'm excited for the future. I
Yeah.
can't do it in his voice, but it I do like that he does say he gives a little piece of, hey, the studio did tell me that I was going to come back prior to their hire. So I like he doesn't place the blame on James Gunn and Peter Safran,
Yeah.
and it's letting you know the
He's not.
time.
He doesn't seem bitter about
Yeah,
them making their
he
decision.
understands, and I don't know if it does feel like the studio. Why would you jump the gun? I know at the same time it's because of Dwayne Johnson really pushing for this Black Adam versus Superman fight, and the fact that he has a cameo at the very end of Black Adam. Like they were trying to push that where it felt like, oh, it's a guarantee. I'm gonna be in this universe, but they
They didn't
were
even
they
know.
were they not aware that, oh yeah, we hired James Gunn and Peter Safran. They're gonna change. They're gonna do a 10-year
Yeah.
plan.
Maybe because they're not used to people actually doing their jobs over there. They were like, we've never had a CEO for this studio before. They're not going to do anything because we didn't. So,
Yeah, it and this what's who's the new CEO? David,
Zaslav,
yeah,
David
David
Zaslav.
Zaslav. He's a different beast than
Yeah.
AT&T was, whoever was in charge back then. But like, because he's not to play. I mean, they canceled Batgirl. Like,
They're canceling like everything. They would greenlight everything and then cancel it.
but
But
and just to finish this like thought here about other than the fact that he respects the universe, he like I said earlier, he's a nerd like us, so he understands, and I really appreciate that about him. But he also reverted back to the fact of Superman. We can mourn for a bit, but we must remember Superman is still around. You know what I mean? He still has love for this character, despite the fact that he's no longer able to play him. And I mean, this dude is just he's all class.
it's all class, dude. All professionalism.
Yeah,
Like I read that. I was like laying down. I was like, I'm bummed out.
yeah,
I was just exhausted because that fight of is he not has been going on for years. So I think I was just in an emotional roller coaster of like, you know what, just
yeah.
go, just go.
And he had to deal with that question for
Yeah,
years. He had to get to the point where he said, "Well, the cape's still in the closet."
yeah.
Like,
So I don't know, but
yeah,
he I don't know. I wouldn't blame him if he never wanted to like return to the DC universe again. Like they did him dirty. I
yeah.
feel really bad,
Well,
and
and yeah. Sorry,
I know
go
that
ahead.
James Gunn said that like there's future potential and they could do like a Kingdom Come sort of Superman thing, but I don't know. I if I was him, I would just be like, I'll be respectful online, but fuck this studio.
Yeah, because that was a bonehead move.
Yeah,
I get it promotion wise. They literally was just promoting this movie, right? That's all they were doing, and yeah, he's back for that. What, 15 seconds?
yeah.
You know,
15 seconds. He's back forever.
woo, yeah, and yeah, it was just feels like the studio should have been like, hey, we don't know if you're coming back. Let's just not. You're in this post credit scene, but I don't think you have to say anything because it's not. It's a post credit scene. You know.
It felt purely like as an act to like just promote Black Adam. Like that
Yeah.
was it. Like it was the only reason. Now, like in hindsight, that's all it feels like now is like they knew it was probably not going to underperform, and they're like, we're not going to be here. Let's just put him in there and
And
say, it's James Cameron. I mean, it's James Cameron, James Gunn, and Peter Safran.
yeah, and
Well,
that's a testament to what DC has been, or at least the DCEU. It's just throwing everything into the what does it say? What's the saying? Everything
they
but the
put all
kitchen
their eggs
sink.
in my basket
Yeah, they're just here you go.
all the time, and they just throw at whatever's at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was thinking of.
But I mean, but if I was in James Gunn's shoes, I would do the same thing. I
Yeah,
think. Not that I
100%.
am anywhere near the genius level of James Gunn and Peter Safran. I'm not that smart, but it makes sense. It is what I'm ultimately saying.
Yeah.
I I think like yeah, let's clear the slate. Now, if they don't clear the entire slate and they just got rid of Henry Cavill, then I have an issue. Then I have
That's like two questions that I was gonna get to, but like before we get into what the possible changes could be, what are your thoughts on James Gunn? I mean, you obviously said he's a creative genius, but like his
yeah.
movies, himself, his presence on Twitter, like what do you think?
I love James Gunn. I think he's great. Like I love his movies. I love his taste of music that he puts
Yeah,
in his movie soundtrack. I love Scooby Doo too. Like he's done it all.
yeah,
I really think he's done it all. I think like and I think the main thing is that he's just like a great storyteller. Like he was Kevin Feige's right hand man for the longest time. Like he was going to run DC Studios. I mean DC Marvel Studios. And of course that whole Twitter situation and now he's, now he's on top of the world. He's doing better than ever.
oh yeah,
But I don't know. I think like he I know that he likes doing, the obscure characters as well. That's kind of his niche.
Yeah.
because he can take more liberties with them. And I think like as great of a writer as he is, taking good liberties with obscure characters that no one really cares about is such a great tool.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm a little worried on how he's going to handle those bigger characters like a Superman, like a Batman. You know, I'm wondering what kind of James Gunn flavor is he going to put onto them. Not that he's going to
Yeah.
mess them up because it seems like he cares, but I just don't know. I haven't seen him take a character as iconic as that before. Because even the whole Guardians of the Galaxy, like in the comics, they were not like how they are in the show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wonder. I'm optimistic, but after thinking about it, I'm more cautiously optimistic on how he's going to handle it.
That makes sense. I didn't think of it like that. Um, my introduction to him is solely the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like
Mm.
I haven't seen his earlier films. I still haven't. I hear about them. I hear how good they are. But Guardians is my introduction, and
Yeah,
I remember I was cautious about Guardians of the Galaxy.
yeah,
Like I don't know if this is going to be for me, but obviously it was, and I'm one of those people that does does yeah that I enjoy volume 2 is
yeah.
I enjoy volume 1, volume 2. I love the guardian. He did a great job setting up these characters and giving
The
them
holiday special.
holiday special. Like I love these characters and I love what he's done with them, and I love what he's done with both the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Like you
Yeah,
said, he took these random ass characters. Polka Dot Man, who would have thought you would feel for Polka Dot Man? You know what
yeah,
I mean? And just he knocked it out of the park with that movie. And he had one, I guess you could say, semi iconic character with Harley Quinn, and I thought
yeah,
he did a great job with her. But she's already she's his kind of his bag, right? Like they're
yeah.
kind of crazy. It's a character that he can work with, and
It's
then
in yeah, it's in his tools of trade to handle.
exactly, and then I thought he did a great job with John Cena and the Peacemaker series, and once again filled it with a bunch of cool ass characters that feel very James Gunn.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So yeah, I could see why you could be cautious about. Yeah, he does have these respect for the Trinity and the the main players, but we are gonna. The cool part is that we are gonna get a lot of obscure characters at the same time.
yeah. We might
So
get some more Green Lantern. I know he the most obscure big name superhero out there, so hopefully he can do something like that. I'm excited for his like space exploration because DC can really capitalize on that.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
But
gonna be. I mean, this guy put a freaking what the hell is his name? The starfish. What is the starfish called?
Starro.
Yeah, Starro. He put a what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah. Like I do think I do and James Gunn whenever he writes and if it's him writing and it seems like their main priority is a Superman movie and we know that that's like I kind of echoed earlier like you have to expand the DC universe around that.
Yeah,
Um, I if he is writing, I'm excited for it because he can put like genuine levity in there and like real heart into it. And like even for Peacemaker, like I was crying during that show.
yeah,
So I think I am excited for him. I just don't want it to get too balls to the walls where it's unnecessary. Like you can't. The same
that's
reason
true.
that it doesn't exactly work entirely for Zack Snyder is that Zack Snyder kind of they blew their wad a little too early for stuff like Batman v Superman. So
Yeah,
I just hope that James Gunn kind of reads the room and does take a page out of Marvel and just like you said patience and paces it out and lets it breathe.
absolutely. And I mean, he James Gunn himself has confirmed that he is writing Superman. Superman. Well, he's also said a lot of things about like Superman is going to be the central figure, like you mentioned earlier, and that's what it seems like they're going to lead with. He's writing the new Superman movie. Supposedly, it's going to be a young Superman that already works at the Daily Planet.
It feels like the Batman.
Dude, I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say they. I feel like the smart thing with the Batman was to be like, we don't need to do an origin.
Yeah, it's just
Batman's been like I was gonna mention earlier, like it's been a 1-2 punch with Batman. Like Christian Bale just finished his trilogy before they cast Ben. Ben didn't get to finish, but they immediately cast Robert.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm happy they didn't do the origin and all that, but like yeah, it feels like that's what they were like. Hey, you know what? They didn't have to do the origin story for the Batman. Let's do the same thing for Superman. Let's make
Yeah.
and since we haven't had a lot of experience with him actually working at the Daily Planet, um,
I think there's a lot of fun to be had there.
oh
I
yeah,
feel like I'm excited for that potential. Um, I'm curious. I know I'm kind of segueing right now, but I just wanted to see if you put any thought into it because you mentioned that they're looking for a young Superman. Who would you cast for a young
yeah.
Superman?
Man, they could get anyone. I think the only thing that my only criteria is please choose somebody that knows the importance of the character and is willing to be that character for X amount of years.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I think that it's gonna suck if we get one that an actor that's great and we know him, but like 2 years, 3 years down the line goes, says something stupid.
yeah,
Like I rather, no offense to Daniel Craig, I love Daniel Craig, but I don't want to hear my Superman go. I'd rather slit my wrist than put on the cape again. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Just like, is it that bad being a millionaire? Is it?
Like it's like come on, I just want somebody that understands that Superman's a big deal. It is
It's a
it's a
commitment.
Captain America situation. Like you're gonna play this character, you're gonna have to uphold its values, and you're probably gonna have to show up at a few children's hospitals in costume. Like it's a big commitment,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Like they can cast anybody. Do you
I
have anybody in mind? Like, have you thought
I
of anybody?
I don't have anyone in mind,
Yeah,
like per se, but I like where you're going with that because I think that's arguably more important than like, of course, their acting capability is important.
of course.
Um, but I think like, are you in it for the long haul? I would go almost, I would go with an unknown. I think with
Okay.
Superman you need to,
Yeah.
because if they did the same thing they did with Ben Affleck, I'll probably just see because you don't get to cover up his face. Like
Yeah.
that's why he stands apart. So I would just see like
What do you
Brad
mean? He gets to
Pitt
wear glasses.
yeah, big difference. Um, but so I would go with an unknown, probably most likely, or someone that's been like. There was an actor I had in mind, but his name is escaping me right now. But I think if I can find him later on, I'll show you.
and and
Um,
and the thing is too, like, let me make sure just in case you want to share. Anyways, or somebody that has been making noise but isn't like public knowledge. Like, I'm just throwing this name out there, but I'm not saying that he should be cast as Superman. But like someone like Dylan O'Brien, who's been consistently working,
yeah,
but like, you feel like, oh yeah, he could commit. I'm not saying Dylan O'Brien is the guy. I'm just saying like he's known but not well known.
I agree with you. Someone that like has proof of work that I
Yep.
could feel comfortable filling in the role, but like he's obscure enough. He's not a name. He's not a big name.
Yeah.
He's not like a movie star. So I agree with you. I am looking. I can't find his name here, but I'll show my screen.
Okay.
Shoot,
Make sure you close out everything else that I'm just kidding.
I'm closing out everything else. It's this guy though. Is probably the closest I could find for.
Oh, I've never seen this guy before.
He's like on a few Netflix shows,
Oh,
but
okay.
I mean, he's but someone like that.
Yeah.
But where I'm going is like someone I know. But I like the direction you were going with more because it is a commitment. Like someone that, and I think that's what made Henry Cavill stand apart because even though he didn't have a lot of opportunities to
Yeah.
be the Man of Steel, like he was Superman, like through and through. Like that dude
Uh,
acted very morally
Absolutely.
just. And so
Exactly. And it I go back to thinking when they cast Robert Pattinson. Pattinson, it feels, and from my perspective, feels like it's a hardcore. I'm only doing 3 of these and I'm done.
yeah,
You know
like
what I mean?
there's a hard stop.
Yeah, it's like no more. You know what I mean? Like, and it feels like every Batman actor that they've cast so far has a hard stop. It
Yeah.
hasn't felt like one that's come and like, dude, I'm so excited to be the Batman. I'm gonna play him for 15 years. Like,
I you just need someone that's like not established
yeah,
that could has time on their schedule to lot for Batman, you know.
perhaps Alex Smith as Superman and Mark Denny as the Batman.
Sure.
I am the knight.
Pay me $1 million and I'll get in Henry Cavill shape.
Oh shit, man, that'd be so sick. Imagine us on screen together. Ladies and
Jeez.
gentlemen, this is your first preview of Superman and Batman.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Dude, no one could. People would get so distracted with a shaved face. Like I would have to make sure. I was like, yo, Bruce has to have a beard. Like I
A
can't
little
pull off
scruff.
a shave.
Batman has some scruff.
Yeah,
He always
yeah,
has a shadow. Like in the comics, he has a little shadow.
yeah,
You can
yeah, yeah,
pull
yeah.
it
I
off.
guess so. Yeah, yeah. But like, I'm in agreement with you that James and Peter Safran. I keep forgetting to mention Peter Safran, who is also a well-known producer. Did produce Aquaman, Shazam, and the Suicide Squad.
He's a heavy hitter, yeah.
He's a heavy hitter, and I think it's totally. I'm 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 to the point where I know they want to do a season 2 of Peacemaker, and they should continue the Peacemaker series. But I'm all for them doing a complete reboot instead of picking and choosing what stays.
Yeah.
I, I'm sorry, Gal Gadot was amazing as Wonder Woman. She's
Hmm.
not bad to look at either. Um, my wife is better.
Good
Ding
recovery.
ding.
Good recovery.
And but I think they also need to get rid of the baggage.
I
They
think so
I
too.
don't think they need. Oh, do you
I
remember what happened?
I think it all goes. It
Yeah,
all has to go.
it has to. And like I was thinking about this today. I was like, man, if they did a hard reboot, right? I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, but like James Gunn recently got married to Jennifer Holland, who is in Peacemaker series and the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I think she'd play a pretty cool Lois Lane though. Like,
Yeah, I think she would too. I think she could.
I mean, there's
I'm
so many other actresses, but I just think that she fit the role.
she's a tough cookie. She can
Yeah,
play like a good tough and she also has that soft side of her whenever she lets her guard down like in Peacemaker.
yeah.
So I feel like she has I feel like she could do whatever James Cameron I'm so sorry. James
Someone's
Gunn.
got Avatar in the brain.
I do not. What James Gunn wanted her to do, but I don't know. Like I've heard the rumors that they're gonna have Jason Momoa be Lobo, which I think
Oh,
is amazing. I think that's a great choice. It
great film.
works. I'm not saying get rid of the actors. I'm just saying like if you're gonna get rid of your one arguably your leading man for the universe. So they say if that's the direction they want to go in, like I think you have to, get rid of everyone. Um, I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, and it's like we haven't even touched on like if you guys aren't nerds like us, the DC films and all that. I think you get the gist of who's in it. But before James Gunn and Peter Safran's plan gets played, we still have to go through like 4 more movies. Still, we still have like Blue Beetle, Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, and the Flash movie
Yeah.
if it comes out.
Yeah. I think they're gonna hold that movie back for as long as possible.
And originally, I thought they were going to use that to
Re-
reboot, to reset.
yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like we're just going to get these 4 movies that are, I guess, going to be sort of connected.
I mean, but it doesn't amount to like I don't know. I feel like this whole thing should have waited because now I just feel like I'm not going to care. Like I'm probably only going to watch maybe the Flash movie.
Right.
As much trash as I'm talking about Ezra Miller, like that's really the only one that I'm like legit excited for because it lends itself to be interconnected. Like I do like Aquaman, I do like Shazam, and I'll probably watch them, but I don't imagine I'll be in a rush to really watch them. I'm not gonna care about Blue Beetle because I doubt that is really gonna connect to the new DCU. So
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. They just really kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and everything's been made by the previous regime. Like Blue Beetle, sure, it was going to be an HBO Max movie and got pushed to studio release or theatrical release, but that was previously
Yeah,
on DC. Of course, Aquaman is going to come out because I mean the first one made a lot of money.
$1 million. Yeah,
The only reason why I have any interest in the Flash is because of Batman. Like you brought back Michael Keaton and
yeah.
Ben Affleck is in it. Like who else
And
did you bring? Christian Bale? No, I'm just kidding.
they brought Henry Cavill, and then they cut him out.
Oh yeah, I heard they cut cameos from Henry and Gal.
Yeah, stupid.
And it's like it's so weird. And right now, listen, as fans, we are like grasping onto any piece of information we can get. Like the whole freak out with Patty Jenkins last week before she came to defend herself um about the cancellation of Wonder Woman 3. And listen, the
That
sequel to
whole
Wonder Woman was gross. It was fart. It was I was trying to find a word.
it
It
was fun.
wasn't great. It totally deserved to go straight to streaming. No offense.
Did you see it in theaters, or did you just watch it on HBO?
I watched it at HBO. Yeah,
You sure?
yeah, and it was disappointing considering how great the first one was.
The first one was really, really good. The first one gave me like Captain America vibes, and then the second one just felt like,
Well, and also give you promised you hope because I remember when that movie came out, it was like, oh snap, this is a direction that they could go. And then Justice League was coming out that same year, and you know, definitely
we
did not live up.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't. It's just so hard, dude. Like, it's I feel like I flip flop back and forth
Mm,
because there are moments like a Wonder Woman or a Man of Steel or the Suicide Squad that I really like. That I really want to stay the course and stay on this train and just see where we can go with this and see if we can course correct. But just a lot of decisions lately, just a lot of what I hear. Um,
yeah,
it sounds like if it sounds like if they do a soft reboot or they just do some slight recast or readjustments. Like I'm not on board with that. I would rather either it all goes or it all stays.
yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. If they, I know there was a tweet. I can't pull it up. I don't have it, but James Gunn was saying that the plan is to connect everything
Yeah,
from the films to the TV to games, and I don't see how you could do that if this DCU is mentioned or somehow brought in, even with the Peacemaker. Like I feel like it should just, if they want to continue doing that show, it should be its own thing. Just a,
yeah,
like the Batman stands by itself,
yeah.
just Joker stands by itself. The Peacemaker can stand by itself, and whatever you guys create from, because I mean it's going to be a few years before we even get to see. I
What
mean,
this DC universe looks like.
yeah, it's so oh man, it's intense. You're right. I feel like there should have been a break. Like we shouldn't be anticipating four different movies at this point. Like it should have been like the universe has been over for, or we've been trying to rework the universe for a couple years. We haven't put out any movies, but guess what? James Gunn and Peter Safran are here with a plan. Like it feels like there should have been a time period of quietness.
Uh, yeah, of like let's focus on the movies that are currently on the slate
Yeah,
instead of like because I don't know, I just don't care about them anymore, which is really disappointing because I went from being excited for Shazam 2, and I do like Shazam as a character,
yeah,
and I know Peter Safran worked extensively in the first Aquaman too with both of those,
yeah,
and they both did really successful. But now I'm like, are they exactly if Jason Momoa is not going to be Aquaman, which I'm confident that he's not, and he's going to be Lobo? I
yeah,
can, I'm putting all my chips there. Like, is Zachary Levi going to be Shazam, or because if they do reboot it, then they're on a time span with the rest of the kids. Like they have to recast those kids because
yeah.
that's their whole thing.
It kind
So
of feels like this is where it should stop.
Yeah,
And especially everything, even these, you could say Shazam like kind of stands on its own until they have the body of Man of Steel come at the end. Then you're like, oh, this is a and the Batman
yeah.
boomerang,
They,
Batarang.
they do well. They comment on the whole universe
Yeah,
throughout. Even in Aquaman, like they bring up
yeah,
Steppenwolf. Like yeah, it doesn't work anymore because that universe doesn't matter. It's, and I don't know. I feel for James Gunn and Peter Safran because it feels like they're just let's just burn it all down.
yeah. And well, I mean, and the cool part is that James has been a part of a evolving universe that, I mean, you could tell that they had things planned, and then they had things where, like, let's add this in there. Let's,
Yeah,
there was some fluctuation in that universe, and I think with that experience, I hope that they use that to flip it on its head. I don't
yeah,
want them to follow it to a T. I want them to be like I I don't know if you heard, but like Robert Meyer Burnett suggested, like, what if we started the universe with the Justice League movie? That's not what's happening, obviously, but what if? I'm like, yeah. What if it started with the Justice League movie?
yeah. Could you?
Yeah, like,
It'd be nice. It would be cool. I mean, like if you do anything well,
yeah,
it would do great. And
just tell
if
us a good story.
yeah,
At the
and
end of the day,
they have the person to do it. James Gunn is a great writer. I don't see why they couldn't. I just know. I just wonder what their game plan is. I don't know what their roadmap is or the ultimate goal because I guess they could go anywhere. And that part I am excited for because like they could bring in. I don't think he's going to go straight to dark side like
yeah,
as the overlay threat. Like I don't think he's going to use Starro again. I think he's going to use something a little bit more complex. And I think like James Gunn understands the intricacies of what builds a universe like
yeah,
so well. I am excited for that. That's why I would rather prefer a hard reboot over a soft reboot because if he just wipes the slate clean and it's just his format, I think it could be great.
yeah,
But if it's a soft reboot, I think he's just limited by the direction that the previous regime was going in.
yeah. And fortunately, with all the other characters, right? It's gonna be it's gonna be easier to recast, right? Or to have appear on screen as a new reincarnation, reiteration, or whatever. The one that I'm kind of concerned about, and I wanted to ask your opinion on it. Obviously, the universe works because of the Trinity, right? You got Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned earlier how close each recasting has been, and the fact that we have Robert Pattinson right now supposedly doing 3 of these Batman films, which will, what, 5, maybe 8 years still to go.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna move immediately to make sure that Batman is in their universe with the new universe with Superman and all that?
I that's tough. That's
Or
a
should
tough
they
question.
wait?
I don't know. I first off, like I don't know if Robert Pattinson even wants to do that. I don't think he signed on for that. I don't think his commitment to something that big is there.
Well, yeah, I don't. Honestly, I do not think they're gonna try to have this Batman go into this universe. I think it's a completely separate thing. It's Gotham as a universe
Yeah.
that is separate. But I just mean in terms of bringing Batman back. Like they're gonna
Oh.
have a Batman in this universe, but like, do
Oh.
you bring him back right away, or do you wait till some time passes?
I guess I would bring him back. He wouldn't be my first movie. Like
Mm,
again, we just had a Batman movie. I would probably make him early, but like on the latter end of like the early first phase
yeah,
of new DCU films. Like I would start off with the Superman movie. And then maybe a Wonder Woman movie or probably like a Green Lantern movie, something a little bit more obscure that they can expand their reach with.
yeah.
But
So
I think eventually, like, of course you have to do Batman movie. Of course you got to bring him up there. Um,
I just figured it out, man.
what
I just figured it out.
what?
What if? All right, we get through, like, let's just for argument's sake, phase. They get through their first phase. They have all these different superheroes, ones that we've seen like Superman, Wonder Woman, and ones we haven't seen, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, whatever.
Yeah.
and a post credit scene. Let's say it's 10 movies. Post credit scene, it shows all these clips that we're familiar with. What is this? What's this computer? They zoom out and it's freaking Bruce Wayne studying how he could defeat each one of those heroes. You know, because that's a big plot
It's
point of
he
him
does
knowing
that.
how to take them out. Like, just imagine though how excited you'd be. Like, oh
Like,
shit,
oh
that's
my
Bruce
god,
Wayne. Oh
he's gonna
shit.
kill him. He's gonna kill him all.
And then it, fades to black. But I think that would be a would they definitely have to set that up somehow, right? Because Batman's supposed to be smart. He's supposed to be the detective. Let him
Yeah,
be behind the scenes and then build up to that.
I think if you do Batman, like I would have him involved, but yeah, more behind the scenes thing. Like, if he shows up in a if he shows up in a Superman movie, like make him the inspiration why Superman wears a cape, like they did in like a previous comic. Like have them have an interaction. Like Batman's already aware that Clark Kent's already an alien. Before he goes to him first, and he didn't expect him to be that strong, but have him. But he disappears and you never see him again until like an after credit scene or whatever. And you
Yeah,
don't even have to show his face, just like
exactly,
but
exactly.
I would probably do what they were trying to do with Henry Cavill and just give him several little cameos and work it up, eh, you know, towards his own Batman movie. But I don't know. That's a really good question because of course, I want Batman there because I want that interaction there. But like I mentioned earlier, like I don't want them to blow their wad too early. So I guess the safe answer would be to wait.
Yeah, and I
But
don't think that they. I because recently they revealed that they were working on a Batman Beyond movie with
yeah,
Keaton or something like that. I don't know. It's hearsay, but I don't. I think it has to be a classic Batman, though. Like if
I
they
think so.
decide to with this universe, it has. I think it has to be a classic. It can't be an old Batman, and it can't be Batman Beyond. Like
He has to be within the same age range as
yeah,
Superman. I think they
exactly.
have to be, and like he can be maybe a year or two longer into the field. Maybe he's already fought some big bads of his own, but you can make him the more tenured rep, but not like he's 60 and Batman's 23 or Superman's
Yeah,
20.
exactly. And that plays along with you keep talking about blowing your load, and I'm like, you know what? As much as I love the Batman, right, the movie itself, when they put Joker in there, I was like, why now? Why are you introducing Joker now? Like we know Joker, we don't need him in this movie, right? And it kind of feels like sometimes they got to remember that, like, hey, we don't have to introduce everything in this damn movie.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like we have time, and that's basically what I'm saying is like learn from the Batman experience. As great as that movie was, as great of a foil the Riddler was, you didn't have to show or have the Joker interact with the Riddler.
yeah,
It wasn't important. It wasn't, especially when you don't have the other scene that was supposed to be in there, right? Irrelevant. So just make sure that you're paying attention and go, you know what? Is this relevant? Do we need this Easter egg? No, not really. So let's not worry about it. We could put that in the next movie, or it makes more sense. Like I hope they are figuring out
tactical.
and let it evolve. Like, what if they do the Superman movie? They think, oh, this is Chef's Kiss.
Yeah,
Don't don't give up on it. Like, if fans go, you know what, I don't know, or they start warming up to it late, I don't know. I just if you're gonna do this plan, commit to it,
yeah,
but also allow the flexibility to update, change. Because that's what I loved about Marvel is that as they went along, yeah, there was a template, but you could tell that there were times where they wrote themselves in a corner and then they figured out how to
yeah.
get out.
Like tonally they adjusted
Yeah,
as it went in, but like the plan was always the same. The end result was always going to be there. You could feel that,
yeah,
but yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah.
It's hard to say because like I never built a universe before, and so
I feel
I don't
I, I feel like they came up with it rather quickly because I feel like they were announced and then now we're like, oh, at the beginning of the new year we'll tell you our plan. Like,
I'm like, oh, okay,
damn.
that's a quick turnaround. Like holding this in your back pocket for years to just
Exactly. I was expecting the whole year, but you know what? They had have been talking when James was making the Suicide Squad.
yeah,
Had to.
I think so. I think like especially I think he had his own version of the universe in the back of his head when he made the Suicide Squad.
That makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like I don't know because and probably just for him for like context of how he wanted his interaction with Bloodsport. What's his name? Idris Elba's character.
Yeah, I think he's Bloodsport.
Bloodsport and his interaction with Superman. He was like, yeah, when he shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet, like I'm
Yeah.
like, I kind of want to see that interaction. I want to see because I could see that Bloodsport being like a tactical threat to Superman.
Yeah.
So it feels very comic booky um, with his abilities. And I still think Superman whipped his ass, but
Except for when he's against Batman. Just saying.
no way.
That's debatable. All right. So, last question here. I mean, we kind of touched on it already, but is there any like last thoughts of what you not? I don't want to set up expectations because expectations you could be let
Yeah.
down. But like, what is something that you would like to see moving forward?
Honestly, there's a couple things.
Yeah,
I really do want to see the Green Lantern Corps like in this DC universe. Like
man,
I
they've been trying to do because originally they were going to do a series on HBO.
yeah, they were gonna do a series. It was supposed to be like a anthology series or something like that. I really think all I really want to see, and I think if they wanted to tackle this in like phase one or phase two, I don't know. I don't care. But I just want to see the brightest day, blackest night sort of
Yeah,
like that. I think that's a whole phase in itself, you know.
that makes sense.
And
Yeah,
I that's what I really want to see. To me, that's one of the best stories that they have in their back pocket that they could utilize. Like that's their Infinity War. It's
yeah, yeah. I mean, I pretty much touched on everything. I mean, I just want to be able to connect with the characters. There's a reason why Batman's my favorite character. And Ben didn't get a chance to like fully flesh that out. I connected
missed
more with
opportunity.
Superman in this iteration of the universe, but like they're godlike figures. So I feel like that's the thing that Marvel got right because even with something like Captain America, I was like you could totally relatable,
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, you got Superman and you got Batman and you got Wonder Woman. All these, and obviously Batman is, he's human. He's not Superman or Wonder Woman, but like
but he's
having
not
connect.
relatable. Not really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a billionaire and
Yeah,
playboy and all that stuff, but I don't know. That's all I'm really expecting is a connection. I want to feel like I cared about the Suicide Squad characters, James Gunn. Like even if they were in it for a little bit, and you can compare that to the other Suicide Squad, right? David Ayers, like he blows up one of their heads early
that
on in the
he was
film,
gonna
and I was
die.
like, couldn't care less.
I don't care.
But for some reason, with James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, I was like,
He slaughtered an entire team like the
yeah,
first 5 minutes. Like, and I
yeah,
cared about Captain Boomerang's death. I was like, no, not him.
exactly, like right immediately, and then made it even worse when you get towards the end of the movie, and you're just like, they've become friends. Why
Yeah.
you? What's what?
Man, you're like, I
Oh
thought
man,
everyone was safe.
Polka
They
Dot
killed
Man, man, he has the best. I'm a fucking superhero.
he did. You are, bud.
Yeah.
You did it.
Well, even in Peacemaker, I remember I never felt so concerned for characters in my life. Like when we
Oh
got
yeah.
to episode 8, I was like, "Oh no, don't kill her. Don't kill him,"
It was
But
really like he can drive. He can make you care. I think that's. I feel confident in
yeah.
that. I feel confident that James Gunn will find a way to make people care about those unrelatable characters because if he can make you care about obscure characters, I
Well,
think that's arguably harder.
it even goes back to Guardians.
Hmm.
Who didn't get like I mean, other than all the fun, but like when Peter saves Gamora in space, like you're
Yeah,
like, I totally buy this.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like as goofy as he is. Like, oh
Yeah,
wow, he's showing you who like his character like through his actions. Like
exactly.
this is why he's kind of the leader. He's the first to kind of go into the line of fire in that sort of situation. Put others before himself. So it just displayed, and he just happens to be a dorky guy, and I think he can do that with all of the DC roster. Maybe not as goofy, but
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I don't want their Batman, James Gunn's Batman, to be Robert Downey Jr.
Or a comedian, by day. Hey, have you heard about that Clark Kent? He thinks he's a reporter, but he's Superman. I don't know. Imagine Batman having his own stand-up. But yeah, like
So parents, who's
you
got
gotta
him?
you gotta keep their fiber, their humanity, their you gotta keep their character. That's the most important thing, and then figure out how they all connect. Like, I mean, that's
Yeah, I think so. Like their dialogue within each other as they get to know each other can be, because that's, friends are friends. You joke around with each other, but even
exactly.
then, like Batman's humor has got to be different
Oh
than
yeah,
like Flash humor. It's got to be like a
yeah.
dry wit. It's almost unintentionally being funny. Like,
I agree, man. And I gotta say thank you for doing this.
yeah,
And thank you for being our residential DC correspondent.
happy to be
we
here.
we re- I really do enjoy having these conversations with you, and I know Bernice, she's gonna ignore this episode. She's not gonna listen to it. So, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay. No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Fair is fair. Fair is fair.
fair is fair. Fair is fair. No, but I'm happy that we got to talk about DC. Like I said, it was an idea that popped in my head. I said, I'm gonna see if it can happen, and luckily you were available.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
So
Thank you for having me.
hopefully, when James and Peter announce what's going down, when they have their own MCU press conference, hopefully we can meet up again and
Talk about it. Yeah, around their, hopefully see what's on their slate and what their roster is looking like. Maybe some casting choices. I don't know. I don't
maybe
know.
I feel like if they're already writing Superman, they gotta have someone in mind.
I feel. I wonder how close they are to finishing it.
Well,
I
they're
know.
still doing that other Superman movie as well. I mean, not to keep the show going, but they're still doing that other one that supposedly Michael B. Jordan is supposed to be a part of.
I forgot about that. I
Yeah,
didn't know that was still on the table.
yeah. Apparently, it's still active development, is what they said. I think in
We'll
Variety. So
we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
yeah,
I'm excited for that, but we'll see. We'll
we'll
see.
see. See, and then and Ben might direct a DC movie. That's another thing that's going around.
Is it the Batman?
Oh, for I would give anything just to see what his Batman was going to be.
Me too. It would be cool. It would be really cool to see.
Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts. Follow at the movie reference on Instagram. Listen to us on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts. Check out the 2 episodes Alex featured on. Really great discussions. He's a dope dude to talk to, guys. I don't know if that's clear or not. I love talking to him. I love giving him shit, and I don't know. He's one of my favorite people to talk to. So thank you, Alex, again. And
Thanks for
that's
having me, man. Happy to
of
be
course.
here.
Oh, thanks. And that's been the movie reference.